Welcome to Dr. Judy Speaks, where we dive deep into the world of parenting thriving children. I am your host, Dr. Judith Josiah Martin. Come join us as we explore topics ranging from parenting with confidence to fostering emotional intelligence. Get ready to embark on a journey of growth and discovery with expert advice and real-life stories. This is Dr. Judy Speaks, where parenting meets empowerment. So today I am so happy to have our audience join us in this conversation of rewilding our children. What do parents, we have been in a series of the nurturing parent and what healthy parenting looks like from many different angles. In our last Dr. Judy Speaks, we were talking about the nurturing parent, and we promised our audience that we would look at different ways of helping parents create these thriving children. And today is no exception, because today we're talking with mental health specialist and social worker Lisa Deza, and she is a parent as well. And so we are really looking forward to having you join us in this conversation that hopefully will help our working parents, our lone parents, our dual parents, all kinds of parents out there engage in the actual wonder and love of having children and what it takes to make them thrive. So welcome to our podcast, Lisa.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Lisa and I have been working together for quite a while, and so I know that she has lots of experiences to share in how she engaged in using nature to help children and to help her family just normalize and be healthy both in the home and outside of the home. So we're going to jump right into this concept of parenting as a positive. You know, what are some of the joys, Lisa, that you have experienced as a parent?
One of the biggest things about being a parent that I have loved the most is having to take a moment and slow down. It is not uncommon for parents nowadays to have to go to keep up with responsibilities at work, responsibilities at home. Children are engaged in activities, so it's very go. So my daughter gets excited about the littlest things, seeing school buses when we're driving, that I never would have noticed if she hadn't sat in the back seat and started shouting, "School bus!" So taking the time and appreciating the little things that seemingly didn't matter until it mattered to a little girl.
Yeah, I love that. We seem to be in that social climate of go indeed. Because we're go, parents tend to be focused on the home environment almost exclusively. What are we doing for meals? What are we doing for reading time and playtime and conversation time and bedtime and bath time? So we have all of these special engagement times that we do with children, but they're all done in the home. And what we want our audience to get a grasp of is that we need to slow it down. I love you saying slow it down. Slow it down to the point where we're beginning to look at other environments that can help us as parents bring in more of a healthy, a different way of children to connect to and learn about themselves and their world. And so nature is such an important and very healthy environment for young children outside of the four walls of the living room, the dining room, the bedroom, and all of that. So tell us a little bit about your appreciation for nature.
Well, even if you're in a city, you're more likely than not to be about 10 minutes walking distance to get to a park. So if mobility is not an issue, the park is there. But the beautiful thing about nature is it does find a way. Look down at any sidewalk and there's a crack. You better believe that there is grass or a tree growing or a flower. The squirrels are amazing at leaving acorns and other random little things just for kids to see. Rocks? I don't know any child that has not had a collection of rocks at some point in their life. So nature is accessible and it's always there.
I also would like to help parents think about light and wind and air, teaching kids to feel the sensation of a windy day or a calm day or a hot day or feeling sun on the body and being able to have a conversation around that. even though they're not climbing on trees, they might be climbing on banisters outside. They might be climbing on rocky statues or running down a sidewalk, but they're outside of the internal home environment. And as you've said, and you're always saying it whenever we have these conversations about there's a blue sky for everybody, and you can always look up, count clouds, birds. And one of the things, whether you're in a rural area or in a city, you can hear birds. You might even see a tree and hear things rustling in a tree. I love squirrels because I watch squirrels quite a bit, you know. We might also find in cities is people walking dogs and cats. So there are also animals in the city. They might not be in Maine like us and seeing deer and all these other bigger animals, but they do have things that they could focus on. Anything else you would add about how we can identify nature in just a regular city life?
I would say generally, if it engages in one of your 5 senses, it is worth paying attention to. Being mindful, we probably shouldn't walk around eating random objects, so obviously be safe there. But as you mentioned, the wind, how does that feel in maybe your hair, against your skin? On a cold day, what does it feel like in your lungs to take a deep breath? As you mentioned, just cities, there's a lot of sound to be mindful of. But also there are times when there's no sound to be mindful of, and that is just as engaging as well. So if it hits one of the 5 senses, it absolutely is worth paying attention.
And when you get a kid away from a screen or out from home, this is a new education for them. This is teaching them how to connect with the body, how to identify sources of light, sound, air sensations on the body, how to regulate from the outside, from being outside, rather than looking only to internal stimuli to help them regulate or normalize whatever activities they have to do. When we're looking at children 0 to 5, one of their developmental needs are usually around physical development and cognitive development. And I have found that being outside for children is such a nice place for teaching things like science. Well, how did that come to be? How do you think that what composition made this particular statue, you know, talking about bringing science from nature as illustrations that children can use, 0 to 5 vocabulary learning from just being outside the home so that all our vocabulary doesn't come from a book. It can come from us taking a walk and identifying things, colors, counting, all of that kind of stuff. And it teaches kids to take learning on a much larger scale. So I was thinking about the game in the car, I Spy, and one of the things that I found makes that really very good is that when we're outside, there's so many more objects to tease the kids with or to bring in as illustration, way more stuff outside than in the house, you know, and it really makes them have to search and look and use their eyes and that kind of thing. What else do you see as important pull-ins from nature for the parent?
I think one of the most helpful things, because eventually the topic of the life cycle does come up that I do with my daughter and I encourage other parents to do with their children, is looking for things at different stages of life. So spring is a beautiful time to do this, where nothing blooms at the same time. So we can look at a series of different flowers, and some are still wilted from the winter time, some have the buds, and some are fully in bloom, and giving that a teachable moment for them to learn a little bit about life.
Absolutely beautiful. So teaching the stages of life from things that look wilted in the wintertime, rebirth, birth, springing, growing, flowering, seeding, all of these things cross over both chemistry and physics and botany and everything. And then if we're looking at how squirrels are finding nuts to feed their family, you know, I'm going to bring in a social work, community building kind of thought there for my children. And so we're looking at teaching life lessons through the use of nature. We're also, what we've been talking about as well is improving motor skills by getting kids out and moving, romping and playing. It increases sleep as well, because all of that air and oxygen and breathing, because of the activity expanding the lungs, is going to help eventually when kids get to bedtime. And I often found with our kids that when they were outside a lot and got themselves good and well using all the different muscles that they don't use if they're sitting looking at a screen, it made them naturally tired. What do you think about that in terms of improvements of sleep through the use of nature?
Anything that helps get a good night's rest is very important to me, as most people at least have an acute awareness of. A person's mood is directly tied to the quality of their rest. So getting some of that energy out, thinking about a time when you had to sit down all day and how you just felt like you had to go, you had to run. And then when you finally get the energy out, there's just a nice calm with you. The same thing happens with children outside. They're sitting inside all day. A lot of times it's just with school, and getting them outside and running around and engaging with nature or their peers. They come home, you can tell that they've had a good day, and you can also tell that they are ready for dinner and then bed.
Oh my goodness, I love it. I love it. I'm going to add also that using nature for parents helps in bonding in families. It's an opportunity. You said, when parents are on go-go, particularly if you have working parents, even stay-at-home parents are working parents as well, can have a very tight schedule running around with kids or just with home responsibilities. And so going out in nature as a unit, as a family, allows us, not just the kids to get away from screens, but adults to get away from screens and phones as well. And so it really is a focused time for family time. And I think being in nature reduces the pressure on parents to have to perform. When you're in home, you have to come up with an activity. You have to sit down either to do the crafts or sit down to read the book. But outside, if we're all climbing and we're all looking at things and we're just talking about the things around, we're learning together how to communicate. So nature as a bonding tool, that's really something.
It is. Prior to me having my daughter, I'd forgotten how to play. Life became very serious between school and work, and keeping my inner child alive and happy was forgotten. When my child was mobile and she was ready to jump and climb on trees, I obviously couldn't let her jump by herself. She could hurt herself. But if I'm jumping with her, maybe holding her hand, my soul was light. I had forgotten how good it felt to just roam.
I'm just loving that you brought that in, because parents get so bogged down by the daily responsibilities. Their energies are split all kinds of different ways. And getting into touch with your inner child and using it to come out and play with your kids. Oh my gosh, Lisa, talk about psychological health and social and cognitive health. I think that when a parent is done romping and playing outside and hiking with the kids, that they too are tired and ready for a good night's rest. Has that been your experience?
Yes, as she's gotten older, my daughter, a little less exhausting for me. We had these grandiose ideas. We're going to climb these high mountains and things like that. But she would get tired pretty quickly, but still wanted to go on. What's around the corner? What's up at the top? So we too had to go on, often with a child on our backs, on our shoulders, in our arms, maybe like a football, but we had to go. We had to go see it. So taking her with us, she's tired, but learning and having fun. We're tired, but learning, having fun.
I love it. I love it. And I like the imagery that you just created there with her when she was smaller, she's on your back. So we also, when we're looking at attachment stuff, that parenting, there is also, and holding the hand to keep the kids safe as you're hiking. All of that tactile stuff is also very important. Kids get touched, kids get held, kids get picked up, they get lifted, they get told about safety. Let's talk about safety in the wild for a moment. Because a lot of parents don't want to go outside. A lot of parents don't want to be in nature because they might be scared themselves. They might not feel that it's safe for the kids to be outside. So tell us a little bit about how you create nature, how you use nature in a way that's safe for children.
I think what can be helpful there is knowing that you don't have to dive into the deep end without water wings. You can tiptoe in. If you know, for example, bugs are terrifying for you, perhaps not going into the middle of a swamp in the middle of August is not the best place to start. However, opening up your front door and looking up. Look, the clouds are out. Oh, the robins are singing. We can tiptoe in and enjoy it without putting ourselves in a very uncomfortable environment.
So you're not saying everybody's just going to jump into a 5-hour hike, are you?
I hope not.
And you're also saying that it's a staged process, that parents can connect with other parents and learn about safe places for kids to be and do some exploration on them for themselves before they bring the kids out. What do you think about that as a safety building strategy?
I think it's always a good idea for a parent to be largely aware of their environment and surroundings, especially if you're trying something new. If you want to get into hiking, there are wonderful, more local places that are a little bit more paved than perhaps diving into the 100-mile wilderness and the Appalachian Trail. So it can be a safe process. I recommend planning. If you know that it could be more than a couple hours, bring a snack with you. It's not harmful to ping maybe your cell phone on where your car is parked. It's never a bad idea to, if you're going out adventuring, letting someone you know and trust where you're going and about what time to expect you home.
I like all of it. And as you're talking about safety, I am thinking that the next thing parents might want to know is, so let's make it fun now. So, okay, we went to the park, the kids were on the slides, they were on the slings, they were on the seesaw. Now they're a little bored. What else can I do in nature to make it fun for my kids?
So things that can be fun, you mentioned an I Spy type game, and I spy with my little eye something green. And if you're outside in nature, there's a lot of green to be aware of. And as children get a little bit older, they're going to start asking questions about a little more nuance after they've run through the green thing. Well, okay, Mom, is it light green or is it dark green? Help me out here. And it helps refocus them. We like to do treasure hunts. Go in with a scavenger hunt, find me a pine cone, find me this, and maybe we can turn it into a collage when we're done. So having perhaps an end goal to even wind down at the end of the evening as well, a way to bring the nature inside and wrap up all the activities we've done for the day. Many communities offer outdoor plays and concerts that are a wonderful thing, largely free, for a family to go engage in. Sit on the grass. What does that feel like on your fingertips? If your child doesn't like all those pricklies, make sure you bring a blanket. But there's just so many wonderful things to do outside. You're going to build a sculpture with some twigs.
I like that. I was actually thinking about twig art, rock collections, different kinds of collectibles that kids can find unique. My kids used to look for feathers. And I'm telling you, I never knew that, you're walking outside. I never knew that you could find so many different types of feathers. My youngest girl had a feather collection just from us taking walks outside. And so also it helps to teach kids to be very aware of even the minute parts of their environment, not just the looking up and the looking straight ahead, but also looking down, looking around and being observant. It helps to develop those observation skills, right? How did this get here when there are no birds? I haven't seen a bird, so how did this feather get here? Developing some of that critical thinking, communication, processing kind of trainings that parents can offer as well. Any other suggestions for making outside fun?
I think going in with an open mind, children are naturally curious and they'll ask so many questions. Feeling comfortable in saying, I don't know, but let's learn together. My daughter specifically, she loves knowing that I don't know everything because then she offers up an idea on, well, maybe it's this. You're right, baby. Maybe it is this. I hadn't thought of that. So just following the child's lead is probably one of the best things I can recommend. You don't have to be the entertainment director. Children will largely do that on their own.
This is great information for our audience about really taking stock of what's the environment and how am I using the environment to make sure that my kids are not just surviving, but that they're thriving. And nature is probably one of the best free tools that we have access to get multiple avenues of our child's development exercised and developed and expanded. And so we really want to encourage that. I also, because we're in an age of technology, one of the things we've previously talked about is how to use technology with nature. Any thoughts about that?
A guilty pleasure of mine is games like Pokemon Go. And my older brother, there's a dinosaur equivalent of this, that in order to progress in the game, you actually have to go outside and be moving and look at where you are in the environment. So that's always a fun thing, being mindful of where you are. Don't stare at your phone when you're crossing a street. Older children, they like things like Instagram and TikTok. So being mindful, we don't want to do anything dangerous, but let's take a cool picture of where we're going. And you can even turn that into an art project. TikTok, for better or worse, has always had challenges of some kind. And if you know where to look, there's usually some kind of nature challenge that if you feel comfortable with your child being involved with that, that's something you can go do and share with the world.
I love it. So we don't have to be back to nature where there is absolutely no technology, but videos can be a part, photos can be a part of our journey that we're using with children as well, pictures and all of that. Anything else you'd like to share? You talk a lot about you taking your child out because you do a lot of hiking. So tell us, as we come down to the end of our conversation, what were some of the beautiful stories that you and your daughter experienced as you taught her how to be alive and enjoy nature?
One thing that comes to mind is my daughter is young. We had her right as COVID hit. So there was a lot of indoor things, but science had said it's largely safe to be outside in the fresh air. And my hope was to go to the beach. I live in Maine, and there is more coastline here than almost anywhere in the United States, but the beaches were crowded. And my husband, a notorious introvert, said, no, let's go to the mountains. What we knew is that when we took her out, we wanted her to know basic safety, things like the trailblazes. If you can find the trailblazes, stay on the trail. You should be able to find your way back, or someone should be able to find you. And what we noticed in a lot of the trails we were taking is the blazes were blue. So we would help her, hey kiddo, where's the next blue? Where can you find blue? And she would start pointing at the blue. And we would ask her, what does the blue mean? Because it was important to identify what you're looking at. And she would say, blue, not lost. And a few months into our hiking adventures, I was having a particularly rough day. Work does work things, life does life things. And it was a cloudy day, and we were reminding our daughter, where's the blue? Where's the blue? And she would point and say, blue, not lost. And as we got to the top of the mountain, we summited, the clouds opened up in this wonderful way, and she pointed to the sky and said, blue, not lost. And it was a wonderful reminder for me that any time I might feel lost, I know that the sky is blue, I know where I am, and it's not lost.
Oh, Lisa, that is absolutely beautiful. I think our audience is going to just be so thrilled because they too can now look up and know that they're not lost in this parenting journey. It's been a pleasure talking to Lisa Dezo on Dr. Judy Speaks, this beautiful podcast on how parents can integrate the use of nature in their parenting strategies. And everybody get out there and enjoy what is free and available to all. We all got a sky, and that's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast on parenting with confidence in raising thriving children. Remember, every parent is unique, and there is no one-size-fits-all approach parenting. Stay tuned for more valuable insights and tips in our future episodes, and find parenting courses and resources on our website, judithjosiahmartin.com. And always remember, you're doing a great job. This is your host, Dr. Judy, signing off. See you next time. Thank you to our guest today. Recording production by Kessie Silas, K. Silas Efficiency Consulting. Editing by Hasan Copywriting. Music by Vlad Kloshenko. Used on the Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Music attribution details in the show notes.